Meeting anxiety in the quiet. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how the quietest moments can suddenly feel the heaviest? Maybe it's the end of a long day. The sun slips below the horizon, the house grows still, and for a moment there's nothing but silence. You sit in your favorite chair, the one that's held your memories for years. But tonight, the silence doesn't feel gentle. It feels dense, almost pressing in on you. It's as if the air itself has weight. In these moments, the mind stirs. Thoughts start drifting in from every direction, some small, some old, some you thought you'd left behind. You try to settle, to enjoy the peace, but instead you sense a subtle tension, an undercurrent of worry. You can't quite put your finger on it, but there it is, anxiety, slipping quietly into the room like an uninvited guest. It's a feeling many of us know but rarely talk about. Maybe you've felt it too, that slight tightness in your chest, the restlessness in your thoughts. You might wonder, is something wrong with me? Why can't I just relax? But here's the truth, and it's important. Anxiety isn't a sign of weakness. It isn't proof that you're broken or that you've done something wrong. In fact, in Buddhist wisdom, anxiety is seen not as a flaw, but a gentle signal, an inner bell reminding us to pay attention, to come home to what truly matters. You see, so often in life we're taught to push anxiety away, to pretend it doesn't exist, or to hide it behind distractions. But what if, instead, we could meet it with curiosity? What if we saw these uneasy moments not as failures, but invitations? Pause with me for a moment. Think back to the last time you felt that heaviness. Was it when the house was finally quiet, when your day slowed down and you found yourself alone with your thoughts? What did that silence bring up for you? Sometimes it's only when life becomes still that our hearts start to speak. Sometimes what rises to the surface isn't comfortable, but it's honest, it's real. In the teachings of the Buddha, suffering, including anxiety, is not an enemy to be fought. It's a teacher. It shows us where we're still holding on, where we need healing, where something deep inside is calling out for our care. So if you're listening to this and recognizing that silent heaviness in your own life, I want you to know you're not alone. We all walk through moments when the calm on the outside doesn't match the turbulence within. But these moments are not a verdict on your strength. They are gentle invitations to listen more deeply, to reconnect with your own heart. Over the next few minutes, as we explore this journey together, I invite you to welcome that anxiety, not to push it away, but to greet it with compassion, like you would greet a friend who shows up at your door in need. Because sometimes the weight of the silence is simply the weight of something inside us asking to be seen, to be understood, and, perhaps most importantly, to be held with kindness. So let's begin right here, in the stillness, with the truth that you are not broken, you are not failing. You are simply being called to return to what is most real, most tender, most important in your life. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the real peace begins. The root of anxiety, attachment, and aversion. Let's take a gentle breath together. If you've ever struggled with anxiety, you might have asked yourself, where does this really come from? Why does my heart race or my mind feel unsettled, even when there's no clear reason? Buddhist wisdom offers a powerful answer. At the very root of anxiety lie two universal forces, attachment and aversion. Attachment is that invisible string tying us to the things we love. It's the grasping of the mind, the way we cling to people, routines, youth, or even the illusion of certainty. We tell ourselves, I can't lose this, or I need this to feel whole. And the tighter we hold on, the more fear we feel at the idea of letting go. Aversion is its twin. It's the part of us that pushes away what we don't want to face: pain, illness, loneliness, aging, or uncomfortable truths. We resist. We fight against reality, hoping we can keep the darkness at bay if we just try hard enough. But here's the paradox. The more we grasp, the more we resist, the more anxious we become. It's like holding a fistful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. Let me share a story that brings this home. Tom was a retired Navy veteran, disciplined, reliable, the kind of person who always kept his promises. For years, every morning at 6 a.m. sharp, he'd walk the lake trail near his home. Rain or shine, that routine was his anchor. But then a hip injury changed everything. Suddenly, Tom couldn't walk the trail anymore. At first, he told himself it was just a small setback. But as the days turned into weeks, something inside him began to unravel. He didn't just lose a habit, he lost a piece of his identity. Mornings that once brought peace now reminded him of what was missing. One afternoon, over a quiet cup of tea, Tom confided in a friend. "I just wish I could go back. I miss the version of me that could move freely." His voice was heavy, full of longing. Maybe you can relate. Maybe there's something or someone you've lost. Maybe there's a part of your life you wish you could get back. But here's the insight Buddhist wisdom offers. It's not change itself that causes suffering, but our refusal to accept change. When we cling to the past or fight against the present, anxiety grows in the space between what we want and what actually is. It whispers, "You're losing control," or "You're not who you used to be." And yet, the truth is, we never really had control to begin with. Buddha taught, whatever is subject to arising is subject to ceasing. Everything changes. Our bodies, our relationships, even our emotions. These storms pass through, but none of them last forever. Real peace comes not from keeping life the same, but from opening our hands, softening our grip, and letting life flow as it will. So, the next time anxiety creeps in, ask yourself, what am I clinging to? What am I pushing away? And what would it feel like to simply allow this moment, just as it is? The path isn't about letting go of what matters. It's about loosening the knots in our hearts, making space for life to unfold. Imperfect, uncertain, but beautiful all the same. Let's keep exploring together. Your story, like Tom's, is still unfolding. And every breath, every shift, every release is a step closer to freedom. Thoughts are not truth. This too is just a thought. Let's take a gentle moment together. Have you ever noticed how your mind sometimes tells stories that feel so real it's as if they're happening right now? Maybe you're sitting quietly and suddenly a thought drifts in, an old worry, a fear about the future, a regret from long ago. Before you even realize it, your heart is pounding, your chest is tight, and you're caught in the web of a story your mind has spun. It's a very human experience. Our minds are incredible storytellers. But here's a truth that can be life-changing. Not every thought you think is true. In fact, many of our thoughts are just habits. Echoes of old fears, patterns we picked up years ago, or worries that repeat themselves like a song stuck on replay. Let me share a story. Marlene is 76 years old, a widow adjusting to life after losing her husband of 40 years. Her days, once filled with shared routines and gentle conversation, have become much quieter. In that quiet, new worries crept in. What if I fall and no one's there? What if I forget to turn off the stove? What if I start losing my memory? These fears weren't fantasies, they were real possibilities. But here's the thing, they weren't happening now. They were just thoughts, arriving with all the urgency of true emergencies. For a while, Marlene believed every thought her mind offered. Each worry felt urgent and personal, as if it defined her. But then she joined a mindfulness group at her local community center. One afternoon, the instructor invited everyone to write down a simple sentence. "This thought is not me. It is just a thought." At first, it felt strange, almost silly. How could words on a page loosen the grip of worry? But something shifted for Marlene. Whenever a fearful thought arose, she'd pause, take a breath, and whisper, "This is just a thought." Over time, she discovered that her fears were like passing clouds. Real, yes, but temporary. They came and went. They didn't define her. This practice is called non-identification. In Buddhist wisdom, it means we can witness our thoughts without becoming them. We don't have to believe everything our mind tells us. We can say, "Ah, I see you, thought. You're trying to protect me, but you're not reality. You don't control me." I wonder, what would change in your life if, the next time an anxious thought appeared, you didn't fight it or run from it, but simply notice it, like you might notice a leaf floating down a stream? What if you gently reminded yourself, "This is just a thought. It's not me. It's not my destiny. It's just passing through"? The power of this shift is subtle, but it's profound. Instead of being trapped inside every anxious story, you become the witness. You create a little space between yourself and your thoughts. And in that space, peace can arise. It's normal for our minds to worry, especially if we've spent a lifetime caring for others, solving problems, or bracing ourselves for what might go wrong. But with gentle awareness, we can remember that thoughts are not facts. They're visitors, not owners of our lives. So, the next time your mind offers up an old fear or a new worry, try Marlene's practice. Pause, breathe, whisper, "This is just a thought." Watch as it passes, like a cloud in a wide and open sky. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that sees them, the gentle sky that holds every passing cloud. Stay with me, because this simple practice, repeated with kindness, can open the door to real freedom. Mindfulness. Returning to the present moment. Let's pause for a moment. Take a breath, deep and slow. How often do you find your mind racing ahead to all the what-ifs of life? Maybe you're sipping your morning coffee, folding laundry, or lying in bed late at night, and suddenly you're not here anymore. You're wandering through possible problems, rehearsing future worries, or replaying moments from the past. It's as if anxiety pulls you out of the present and plants you firmly in a place that doesn't really exist. This is so common, isn't it? Our minds are wired to anticipate, to plan, to protect. But the side effect is that we can spend so much time somewhere else that we miss what's right in front of us. We lose touch with the very life we're living, moment by precious moment. Here's where the practice of mindfulness comes in, not as an escape, but as a gentle return. Mindfulness, at its core, is about being fully present with whatever is happening right now. It doesn't mean emptying your mind, and it certainly doesn't mean forcing yourself to be calm. Instead, it's about observing what is here, your thoughts, your sensations, even your worries, without judging or trying to push them away. Let me tell you a story. Frank was a retired carpenter, a man whose hands had built homes and whose days had always been full of purpose. After his wife passed, the stillness of his house felt less like sanctuary and more like an echo chamber. Small worries, once drowned out by busyness, began to grow louder. He started to wonder, what if I forget something important? What if I fall and no one finds me? What if I become a burden to my children? The quiet became a breeding ground for anxious thoughts. Frank's doctor suggested a local mindfulness group. At first, Frank was skeptical. How can sitting and breathing help me, he wondered. But he was willing to try. On his first day, the teacher simply asked the group to close their eyes and pay attention to their breath. Not to change it, just to notice it. The air moving in, the air moving out. The feeling of the chair under their bodies. The subtle sounds in the room. At first, all Frank noticed was how loud his mind was. But with practice, he began to notice something else. In those small moments of attention, just feeling his breath, listening to the birds outside, noticing the warmth in his hands, he felt a sense of calm he hadn't known in years. Each breath became an anchor, holding him steady in the midst of whatever thoughts came and went. That's the real magic of mindfulness. It doesn't make anxiety vanish, but it gently reminds us, you are not your worries. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it all. The Buddha taught, do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. This wisdom isn't just spiritual advice, it's practical medicine for anxious hearts. So, how can you practice this in your own life? Start simply. Sit for 5 minutes in a quiet spot. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your breath. If your mind wanders, which it will, gently bring it back, again and again. Every return is a victory. The next time anxiety visits, don't fight it. Instead, offer it your attention. Let your breath be your anchor. Feel your body, hear the sounds around you, return to the reality of now. You don't have to fix anything, just be here. Because this moment, this breath, is enough. And in it, you might just rediscover the peace that's been waiting for you all along. Self-compassion, the kindness that softens anxiety. Let's take another gentle breath together. If you've spent a lifetime being strong for others, raising children, caring for a partner, holding a family together, there's a quiet truth that might be familiar. It's often hardest to be kind to ourselves. For so many older adults, anxiety doesn't just arrive as worry. It brings along its shadow, shame. There's this inner voice whispering, "Why am I like this? I should be stronger. I should have it together by now." It's easy to feel alone with these feelings, especially when you've always been the one others could lean on. Let me share a story that may feel close to home. Ruth was a nurse for more than 30 years. She was the steady hand in a crisis, the one everyone called when they needed help. After retirement, and especially after losing her sister, Ruth found herself struggling with waves of anxiety. She felt embarrassed, almost ashamed to admit it. "I've always been the strong one," she said. "Why can't I just handle this?" One day, at a local mindfulness retreat, a Buddhist teacher asked the group to try a simple practice. Place your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and silently say, "May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I accept myself just as I am." At first, Ruth resisted. It felt unfamiliar, almost selfish. Tears welled up as she tried. But the teacher reminded her, self-compassion isn't an indulgence, it's medicine, and the heart needs this medicine most when it aches. Something softened inside Ruth that day. She realized she didn't have to fix her anxiety or force it away. She just needed to stop fighting herself. Each time anxiety appeared, she placed her hand over her heart, whispering, "May I be kind to myself." Over time, she discovered that kindness didn't erase her worries, but it helped her not carry them alone. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Compassion begins at home. When we offer ourselves the same warmth we'd offer a beloved friend, the grip of anxiety loosens. The journey becomes less lonely. You might wonder, how can self-compassion really help? Here's what the research and the teachings show. Kindness softens the harsh edges of fear. It tells our nervous system, you are safe. You are worthy of care, even now. When we meet our pain with tenderness, it's like lighting a small lantern in a dark room. Suddenly, the shadows don't feel so overwhelming. So, next time anxiety knocks at your door, try this simple practice. Place your hand on your heart. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend. "This is hard, and I'm doing the best I can." Acknowledge your effort. Remind yourself how far you've come. Self-compassion doesn't mean your struggles vanish, but it transforms how you move through them. Instead of fighting a lonely battle, you become your own companion, your own source of comfort. As the Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh said, "When you love someone, the best thing you can offer is your presence." The same is true for ourselves. When we are present for our own pain with gentleness, we invite healing. So as we continue on this journey, remember, you are deserving of your own kindness. You have survived so much. You're still learning, still growing, and that is more than enough. Let's keep walking together, one breath, one act of compassion at a time. The liberating thought. This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. Let's breathe together, slow and gentle. And as you listen, let yourself soften just a bit. Have you ever found yourself so entangled in a worry, a fear, or a regret that it began to feel like it was who you are? Maybe it was a wave of anxiety that wouldn't let go, or a heaviness in your heart that felt too familiar. It's as if the boundary between me and my emotion starts to blur, and suddenly your whole identity is wrapped up in that feeling. But what if there was another way? What if you could loosen that grip, not by denying your feelings, but by seeing them with fresh eyes? In Buddhist wisdom, there's a profound practice known as non-identification, the art of recognizing that our emotions, thoughts, and sensations are not our true selves. They come, they go, but they do not define us. The Buddha taught this over 2,500 years ago in a teaching called the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. In it, he invites us to look deeply and realize, this is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. Let me share a story. Walter is 82 years old. After losing his wife, he found himself haunted by a sense of dread that would come and go without warning. It started as a flutter in his chest, a small, anxious feeling, but sometimes it grew into a storm. He'd think, this is just how life is now. This is who I am. But during a session at a local mindfulness group, Walter's instructor led the group in a simple meditation. They repeated quietly, this is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. At first, Walter felt nothing. The worry was too big, too old. But with each repetition, something subtle shifted. He realized his anxiety was like a visitor, sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, but always passing through. Walter began to practice this mantra daily. Whenever the old anxiety returned, instead of fighting or collapsing under it, he'd pause. He'd say, this is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. It didn't make the anxiety vanish overnight, but slowly its grip loosened. Walter began to notice moments of peace between the waves. He saw that he was still here, whole, aware, and more than the sum of his fears. What about you? When you face strong emotions, can you step back and see them as passing clouds rather than the sky itself? Can you remember that you are the awareness behind it all, not the storm that moves through? This teaching isn't about rejecting or repressing your emotions. It's about giving yourself space, a gentle space where you don't have to fight, fix, or fuse with every feeling that comes. When we practice non-identification, we reclaim our freedom. We become the steady ground beneath whatever arises. Try it now. Think of a worry or regret that visits you often. Take a breath. Silently say, this is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. Notice if anything shifts, even a little. You might discover, as Walter did, that you are not your anxiety. You are the sky, vast and open, in which all experiences appear and pass. The Buddha never promised a life without storms, but he gave us tools to remain unshaken within them. This thought, simple yet profound, is a key to that unshakable peace. As you move through your day, carry this mantra with you. Let it become your anchor, your gentle reminder that you are always more than any passing feeling. You are still here. You are still whole. Let's continue this journey, together, with every breath. Guided practice, bringing these teachings into everyday life. Let's take a gentle breath together, right here, right now. So far, we've explored big ideas: how anxiety is born from clinging and resistance, how our thoughts aren't always truth, and how self-compassion and letting go can change the way we suffer. But wisdom truly comes alive when we practice it, when we bring these teachings into the ordinary moments of our lives. You might be wondering, how do I actually use all of this when life gets messy? When I wake up at 3 a.m. and my mind is racing? When I worry about my children, my health, or what the future holds? When I'm just doing the dishes, folding laundry, or sitting quietly and suddenly the old anxieties creep back in? Let's walk through a simple, powerful practice together, one you can use anytime, anywhere. It only takes a moment, but it can change everything. First, pause. Wherever you are, standing in the kitchen, lying awake at night, or sitting on the porch, just stop for a second. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the air entering your body. Take a slow, steady breath in and out. Second, notice what's here. Is there a worry tugging at your heart? A thought repeating itself? Name it, gently, without judgment. Maybe it's, "I'm afraid I'll never feel safe again," or "I'm worried I've let someone down." Just name it. No need to solve it yet. Third, offer yourself the liberating words. This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. Say it quietly or in your mind. Feel the space it creates, the gentle distance between you and the worry. This practice isn't about denying your feelings. It's about witnessing them with compassion. Each time you do it, you remind your nervous system, "I am here, I am safe, I am more than my anxiety." You don't need a meditation cushion or special place to practice this. It's for the real moments, the restless nights, the worries about family, the aches of aging. Even when you're washing dishes, folding a blanket, or listening to the wind outside your window, you can pause and breathe. You can remember, this moment, just as it is enough. You are enough. Maybe the real transformation happens in these small, everyday acts. Because every time you pause and breathe, every time you refuse to let anxiety define you, you're crossing the bridge back to presence, to the only place real peace is found. Try it now. As you listen, take a breath. Name whatever's on your mind. Whisper to yourself, "This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am." Feel how your shoulders drop, how the air moves through you, how the world grows just a bit softer. You're not running from anxiety anymore. You're not letting it chase you out of your own life. You're gently, courageously coming home to yourself. Let's keep practicing, together, one ordinary, miraculous moment at a time. Anxiety as a teacher, not an enemy. Let's take a moment to pause, just breathe, and let the stillness settle. As we reach the end of our journey together today, I want you to remember something important. Anxiety is not your enemy. It's not a sign that you failed, or that you're weak, or that there's something wrong with you. In the quiet language of the heart, anxiety is often a gentle invitation, a signal that there's something within us that wants to be seen, cared for, and understood. Think of all the times you've judged yourself for feeling anxious, for not having it all together. What if, instead, you saw your anxiety as a wise messenger? What if, in the moments when worry shows up, you paused and asked, "What is this trying to teach me? What part of me needs compassion right now?" Buddhist philosophy doesn't promise a life without storms. The Buddha never said we would be free from pain, uncertainty, or loss. Instead, he gave us the tools, the teachings, the practices, the mindful presence to stand steady in the midst of life's storms. Maybe you've realized through our journey that peace isn't the absence of anxiety, but the ability to meet it with wisdom and an open heart. Maybe you found that the more you stop fighting or judging your discomfort, the more space you create for healing and true presence. So let me leave you with a question, a doorway for your own reflection. What would your life look like if you stopped clinging to what no longer serves you and started listening more deeply to what brings you home? Imagine the freedom of letting go of old fears, outdated beliefs, and the weight of expectations that no longer fit your life. Imagine embracing every part of your experience, even the anxious parts, as an invitation to return to yourself with kindness. Remember, you are not alone on this path. Your story, your struggles, and your triumphs are all part of a greater human journey. Every time you choose to respond to anxiety with awareness and compassion, you're not only healing yourself, you're shining a light for others who might be walking through the same storm. If this message touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice might be the comfort someone else needs tonight. And if you'd like to continue growing together in Buddhist wisdom and gentle reflection, I invite you to subscribe and join our community. You are always welcome here. Until next time, breathe deeply, walk gently, and remember, you are so much more than your worries. You are the calm beneath the storm, the wisdom that endures, and the love that holds it all.